All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you very much for taking time out on a Sunday evening to tune into these trainings. I always appreciate you guys stopping whatever it was that you were doing on a Sunday evening, whether it's Christmas decorating or watching a football game or whatever it is to get ready for your week. I always appreciate you guys taking time out to learn and grow and do whatever it takes to build your business. And you guys know that that does take making some sacrifices. And part of that is making a sacrifice of your time and really investing your time to learn and grow with your leaders. So tonight we have some really great stuff planned. If you were on the webinar last week or caught the recording, hopefully you guys saw the shift that we're making in these Sunday night trainings, which I'm really excited about. I get to now bring on my direct sponsor, two-star ambassador Carmen Gilchrist, and you guys now have an opportunity to learn from her every single Sunday. And she is great. I mean, she is truly a top leader in the company. She is a top business builder. She is tops in customer acquisition. She is amazing at running contests and strategizing and structure of your business and getting people to run right away and things like that. And so you guys are really in for a treat every single Sunday. And I'm really thankful that she is taking time out of her amazingly busy schedule, especially with it being the close of the month. I really appreciate her taking the 30 or 40 minutes out tonight to specifically train you guys. So definitely tune in 100%. This is extremely valuable, literally, to your business. And this is where you learn. This is where you grow. So as you can see here, tonight we're going to be talking about how to open your month with goals and a plan. Because as much as I love being excited, as much as I love being motivated, if you don't know exactly what you're shooting for, you don't know if you've arrived or not. So it's very important that here we are, we're going into December. The first day of December in the Visalis world actually starts tomorrow because they did extend the month to help more people cross the finish line, which they do sometimes, which is a huge thing to take advantage of. So here we are, we're going into December and another opportunity to make the next 30 days count in your business. So what we're going to start out talking about is look in the rearview mirror. Okay. And what I mean by that is you do want to take some time, just a little bit of time, to reflect on how your business closed out in November. Did you finish where you wanted to finish? And one analogy that Eric taught me a long time ago, and why I call it the rear view mirror, is if you notice in your car, the rear view mirror is much smaller than the windshield. And that's because, yes, occasionally you do need to look back, you do need to check your mirrors, but there's a reason why the rear view mirror is so much so much smaller, is because you would obviously run into something and run into a lot more obstacles if you constantly looked in the rear view mirror and you didn't focus on looking forward through the windshield. So yes, this is a good time to check the rear view mirror. What could you have done differently? What, just anything that you could have done differently in your business to maybe have finished differently at the end of November. So just recognize it, but then it's straight looking through the windshield in December. So I'm going to have Carmen really break down some specific things as far as what to reflect on the previous month, what to do about certain goals that were not hit. You know, maybe you wanted to hit director and you weren't able to get that third promoter or hit those 2,000 points or whatever it is. What does that mean going into this month? What are you focused on? Why did you not hit it? You know, were you following the system? Did you not have enough challenge parties? Were you doing all the talking and not using tools and three-way credibility? And then really talking about what can change this month. What can you take from learning from what you did last month and just make it, it's just the little changes, right, guys? Just make that little slight adjustment that you can do going into December to make a dramatic difference in your business. So I'm going to unmute Carmen and have her spend a couple of minutes talking about what to reflect on in November and what to focus on moving forward. So Carmen, you are unmuted.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. How I would look at it this way, exactly what Alyse was saying was, what did you do last month? For this month, how many challenge parties did you have? If you had one, to get to, you have to increase it, okay? When you were trying to get director is, as we all know, is $2,000 in volume, and if you successfully did the right things from pre-partying and challenge parties, a good successful challenge party, we want to see from that. But how many did you do last month that we have to increase? And how I look at mine, and I set goals, to increase. You always want to try and strive for an increase. And so I would look at how many challenge parties this month you can put on the calendars. Put them right now. Get your calendar out. Put the dates that you are. So if you know honestly, you can answer your own, the question for yourself is, how many did I really do? We're not here to babysit, but we're here to tell you, if you can honestly answer yourself, then say, I need to then do this much for this month. How many calls did you give out last month? Did you follow back up with, the ones that you were supposed to follow up with? That's a big thing. I could tell you what I've learned to do is following up is so hard on people. One is if you, and this can come from my own experience, is that we may go to somebody and talk about it, but that fear of that you think that they may or may not say yes or no, so you don't call them back, and you never know that answer because you really never went back to call them. So really, did you make the calls? If they said that, when I make a call to somebody and I say, hey, would you take a look at my website? So if we can get better at that to make sure we could follow up and then utilize somebody, this is what I would suggest, is when you're out there making the calls about a challenge party, and if you're pre-partying, you should be pre-partying with somebody so you don't do this alone, is then finding out the time. So, hey, I'm having this challenge party. Can you go to my website right now? Find out if they can do it right at that moment. If they can't do it at that moment, then find out when they can. You don't want to be just out there and talking to them and not have an answer. You want to have an answer so that you know how to follow back up with that person. So if they're available, get permission to call them back then in 15 minutes. Is that going to be good for you? Or if they say, no, I am so busy tonight, I can't. So is tomorrow at 5 o'clock good? Get that answer. And then what I suggest, because situations can happen and you might forgot that time frame, is set your alarm. That is so, so important. My alarm is set for everything, even bypass, okay? So set your alarm to go off to say call back, okay? Because if we don't call back, then we didn't follow up, and then we didn't know. So we don't want it to go then another day or so. So that's another thing, is making sure the call. Setting your goals is, how I set my goal monthly is if you have not hit director, or you are a director now, where is it that you want to increase? If you want to increase your volume again for next month, is look at how many days are in a month. Do something every day with Visalis, okay? And how I look at it this way, is hit yourself a goal. We're going to say $2,000 is where you want to go. Well, how many days are you going to put or in a month? There's 30 days in a month. Figuring out, and this is how I would set it, so that I looked at it as a goal to hit. And then if I didn't hit that goal that day, then I knew that I had to do it again the next day to try to improve it for the next day. So that's how I had to learn to look at it, and not just saying $2,000, because $2,000 out there, it just looks hard. But if you set yourself a daily, that big amount, set it down daily, then it start helping you so that you could learn to say, okay, I do have to make a call today, and I have to do that. So those are things that I would say definitely we have to focus on, get better at, that aren't maybe being done, is making your challenge party out there, making those calls, and utilizing three-way. Guys, three-ways are so important. I'm not saying that you don't know your best friend or you don't know your mom and dad, but three-way calls are so, so important. So please utilize a third party. I don't know, I was talking to some others, is that I even use my husband. My husband even uses me if I don't have an upline to call. We never do it ourselves, because I'm getting myself out of the situation. My husband could hear something different than maybe I want to hear, okay? We want to hear something different. So we'll put that third-party credibility on the phone with, it could be anybody else, just not you. And so as far as what goals that you didn't hit. That's okay. This month is a new month. Get it started tomorrow. Be fresh. If you have not already, I encourage you to have some sort of a board. If it's your little, your child has a little whiteboard, go buy yourself a whiteboard. I have shower whiteboards at home now that Stephen put because the other ones weren't big enough. Find something because you have to be visual, and visual is so important. Writing it on a piece of paper and just sitting it on your desk and you don't get to see it is not going to help you. So have something out there. If you don't have an office, or put it somewhere where you can see it, that you're close to your computer. But it's so important to have that visual. Director or regional director, the amount that I need, daily goals, I'm going to make X amount of calls today, X amount of challenge parties, and that's important for you to see and to see whether or not you've really accomplished it. Am I getting my product for free? That's another thing. And then you write down your PQV. Those are all important things. Those are goals as well. If you're not getting your product for free, you want to set those as a goal as well to say, I'm going to get, work on my customers this month. Alyse, anything else, honey?
No, that's awesome. Let's move on to the next slide. That's really good stuff. So now that you know what to think about and reflect on from last month, we can kind of build on what Carmen said. Let's look forward. She already kind of touched on setting goals, and it is about, okay, what is that goal for the month? And then, like she said, which is perfect, is breaking that down to weekly and daily goals. That is extremely important. So now that also means if you have a team, let's say you're a director or above, it is a matter of figuring out who else is ready to set some goals and make things happen this month. Who on your team is ready to do that? Because there will be people that basically kind of want to take the whole month off because it's December, and just kind of throw it to the wayside because of holidays or vacation or whatever. So you do need to identify who else on your team is going to run, and Carmen can talk about that. And it really is getting them to understand what that means, because I can't tell you how many times I've been on a rally call or even been on an individual call and people get all excited. Yeah. I want to hit director, or I want to get the BMW or whatever. And again, it's a bunch of excitement, but they don't really know exactly what that means. What does that entail? What kind of time is expected of me? What kind of energy do I need to commit to on a daily and a weekly basis in order to hit that goal? Where do I need to be getting volume from? Things like that. And then really understanding and coming to terms with the fact that not everybody on your team is going to run with this thing. As much as we think they may be perfect for this business, or as much as they may be excited when they get started out, you can't continue to wait on those three people to go out there and do something and then, get down and complain that nobody on my team is doing anything. I keep trying to get them to do this. I keep trying to get them to do that. Guess what? They may not. Okay. There is going to be a larger percentage of people that join this business and don't really do anything than join this business and actually take it to the finish line. Okay. It is going to be a much, much smaller percentage, and really keeping it real, it's going to be about maybe 10 to 15% of people that are actually going to keep going, that are actually going to fulfill the commitment that they set out to do, and they're getting started training. So Carmen, if you can break that down a little bit more, because I know you have a ton of experience in that, and just go into a little more detail about all of those things.
Yes, when it comes down to looking into the team, it's very, very important to definitely call. That's why the calls are so important. So at the beginning of my month, I do, especially when you're looking at what you have to do to build your business. I call every single person that, and then in this particular team that I'm working in, this is how you would do for your team, is I call every single person, find out what they can do and where they want to be this month, and finding out, are they ready to run. So they tell me that they want to go regional director. I make sure, okay, so you know what that means, and I'm going to go into it. It is the commitment of, you are going to miss a couple games, and is your wife going to be okay, or your husband's going to be okay that one of them could be at home doing that while you're out doing this. It is the commitment that is very, very important. So finding out, so if I get that commitment from them, then we know what I need, and then I also let them know we are going to be at the hip every single day. That means we have to make our, what's our daily thing? We make calls when they've given me that permission, because if they tell you that and then you don't call them, then you both have lost that communication, and days go by we're not following on the track. But if they tell me, if they even hesitate, I'd be like, hey, Sue, are you ready to make a run for this month for regional? Maybe she didn't quite hit it, but last month, and we're ready to look for it this month. And she kind of thinks about it, or him and her, I'm not going to make her. I'll be like, okay, next month, it sounds like you're not ready to do it this month, but let's go ahead and get some challenge parties booked up. What what can you do? And then I would write them down at least to hold her, accountable as far as for herself, so she can still help herself, and then write it down. So finding out exactly where that is going to be important to start off, and then following through with it. So if I'm running somebody, it's every single day we make a connection, every single day. I don't go without talking to that person. And that's just so that we can hold them as finding out who did they talk to, and we set goals, daily goals. Definitely calls have to be done importantly. And then as far as right now with the holidays, you're going to hear a lot of people, and that's why it's important to find out, for me, the commitment is very, very necessary. It will change. So how bad where is it that you want to be in this company? Where, I always tell somebody, if maybe I want so bad for my friend to be an ambassador, but they don't want to be an ambassador. So find out what is your goal and where you want to be. So I'm speaking for the point that you might be thinking that. So we have to always make sure that. But like in the case for us, it is a holiday, absolutely. We had plans to plan to do a family get-together in New York, but that changed, because when we have other people that came into our business, we worked around that. So sometimes things may change, guys, but the one thing is understand that it's not about us. When you have people that are hungry and want this, and they told you that they do, then it's all in. So you can't go to somebody and say they're all in and then you're not in. So make sure that you also set your commitment to where you want to be. So if you're wanting to be national and you have 3 people that are ready to go regional, that you're also ready, or those calls will not be any good if you're not ready to help those people. So the commitment is very, very large, because we have a commitment to those, and that's where we stand at. So my plans have had to change, but that's okay. We made as little sacrifices now will be huge later, and we can make the best of it while we're there, and that's what we've had to learn. So you guys can understand, how do you juggle this when you have your family, if this is going to happen right now with the holidays? Well, we learned to say, okay, we'll make time to do this so that we can do this, and that's very, very important. And your energy about what's going to happen with this, what Alyse has, is the excitement. Everyone right now is going to be thinking of Christmas and thinking of everything going on, but this is the time right now to be excited and to be able to still have challenge parties, get-togethers, make the shakes and do all this. So right now our excitement is what are you going to be doing? If you can get on the phones doing it with everyone right now, they're going to do it. If you don't make the calls, they're going to think it's time to sit back and do nothing. So at least start off now. It's a lot of calls in the beginning of the month. That I could tell you for a fact. If I didn't tell you that, then if you signed up thinking there would not be calls, or you signed up thinking that there won't be a lot of, there is, guys, but it's well worth it. And then, I guess, I don't know if I go to the next one, Alyse, or just that one, the one that says new people solve whole problem.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, guys. And another thing comes into this, because of last month, it's kind of reflecting on the same thing. When it comes down to, I've heard it so many times, is my team's not doing anything. We can't. We're all our own independent, so you're here to help your team, but if they're not ready, you can't sit back. If you want a certain goal and where you want to be, if you want to be in your car and your team is wanting to not do anything this month, you got to find new people. So that's where you have to go out there and you got to get out your list. Are you going back in? Are you sponsoring new people? It's very, very important. You can ask yourself, when was the last time you sponsored somebody? You should be sponsoring somebody every single month. Getting out there, going, I'll tell you, for instance, for myself, my list will never end. Are you out there? Remember, we are promoters. You have your warm market, and then you're out there to have a new market. Are you socializing with new people and with new groups? Getting to know people, and they will. If you put yourself out there, you will find it. I went back to, where are you from? If you live in right now where you are you from that area, or did you grow up somewhere else? Go back to finding old classmates, old childhood friends. I mean, it's happened for me that you just have to get out of that, the thinking of it's only the people I hang out with. Well, it's not that. It's people that have been in our life at one point or another. So remember, new people are all over. I'm sure since you were a kid to now, you have many, many friends that have come in and gone. So don't make your list small and thinking it's only the ones that you've hung out with, gone parties with, or done things with your kids with. No, it's beyond that. So make your list more so that you can sponsor more people that are outside of there. I've sponsored a friend that I went to second grade with. I hadn't seen her since I was in sixth grade. That was only a couple of years ago. But so just to go back, you want to know that you can. And she came in. People be like your connection. So go back to just knowing. Don't think of what your team is not doing. What are you doing? Are you willing to go out there and talk to people all the time? And if you have a scare or fear, this comes from me, okay? I was that person. But why are you doing this business? You have to really find a reason why. And I can tell you, if I have gotten over fears, so can you if you want it bad enough, okay? So you really, really have to find out deep down inside that fear is holding you back to become successful. Get over those fears and say, what do I have to lose? You have everything to lose by not opening your mouth, but you have everything to gain by going for it. And it really has made a tremendous difference in my life by just saying, hey, I will have everything to lose. I won't get to where I want to be if I don't get out of this. And it is totally has made a difference. And I just tell you, encourage you, take a lot that Alyse and I will be going through is a lot of helping develop ourselves, because I've developed myself by saying, if this person could do it, so can I. And I believe that each one of you can. Just believe in yourself that you can. And so go out there, and yes, new people will help it because they're fired up, and then don't worry about it. Your team will see you on fire, then they will be on fire.
That's right. Yeah. And, it's been really cool. Carmen and I were just talking about this the other day, that we've seen this happen in each other. Over the last few years, we've seen each other grow. We've seen each other develop and do things and say things and lead people in a way that we most certainly were not doing this 2 and 3 years ago. We were not doing it at all, but it did take, really having that strong burning desire to want something different and taking responsibility for everything that's going on in our life, and for investing a lot of time and energy into developing ourselves as people. Because if you try to become an ambassador and don't grow and develop as a person and see things differently, then it really is not going to work for you. You may be making more money, but you're not going to be the leader that you really want to be. And then also the fact that taking full responsibility for your business. And I love network marketing because it really does give you a snapshot of your life. And if you're not taking full responsibility of your business, chances are you're not taking full responsibility for other areas of your life. If your kids are out of control, you're probably blaming something or someone else. If your finances are out of control, you're probably blaming something or someone else. If your weight or your health is out of control, you could, hopefully now we're all changing in that, but up until now, you were probably blaming or putting that on somebody else. So your business is not totally built, and thankfully you guys are on a very supportive team. But trust me, there are a lot of people in ViSalus that are not getting the same training, support, mentorship that you guys have access to, and they're still making it work. So just watch the words that come out of your mouth, watch the thoughts that pop into your head, and you can't blame your team, you can't blame your sponsor, you can't blame, your upline 5-star ambassador, you can't blame Kyle Passetti or Blake, Nick, and Ryan for why your business isn't working. We all have the same product, the same compensation plan, the same tools. So the reason why it's working for some people and not is because they're doing things differently. Okay. They're utilizing them differently. They're seeing themselves and the opportunity differently. So that's exactly what we're here to teach you how to do. So, all right, let's go on to the next slide. This is the last slide, guys, and this is going to be big, and this may be something that you've said, or this is something that you've heard, but it's the holidays, right? As we go into December, and the thought of growing the business or sharing the challenge with people, right? Because we're going to think that everybody's just going to want to pig out over the holidays and start on January 1st. And typically that would be true. But guess what? We are here to create a shift in people. We are here to make them aware of something that they were not aware of before. We are here to show them a solution that is going to be extremely different than what they've done for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, which is go on a drastic low-calorie diet or the Atkins diet come January 1st and stick to it for 3 weeks, right? That's just typically what people do. So we have a solution for that. So Carmen's going to go into more detail, but we want to tell you this is a great time to share the challenge with people. This is a great time. This is probably the time of year that you see more family and friends than you typically do. So guess what? That gives you an opportunity for people to see your results, right? Maybe you've been talking to them on the phone, or maybe you've been talking to them on Facebook, and now you actually get to get face to face with them, and you've lost 10, 20, 30, 100 pounds, right? Since the last time they saw you. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I heard you talking about it, but now I'm seeing it. What in the world? You look amazing, right? That is powerful. And then the other thing is, when you are at a family function, don't be one of quote unquote those people, right? That joins ViSalus and says, I don't want to be a salesperson. But guess what? You're at a family dinner and you're talking about the shakes and the BMW and making $200,000 a month and, traveling to different trainings and all this kind of stuff. You become one of those people. Okay, that people don't want to necessarily engage with you because they feel like all you're going to talk about is the challenge, and you're going to take no interest in what it is that they have to say. Okay, honestly, you will do better in your business the more you let other people do the talking. Okay, read How to Win Friends and Influence People. It'll teach you how to do that. Tax incentives, that's another huge one. People that start their business by the end of the year have huge tax incentives. And then also Carmen will talk more about never do all the talking. So Carmen, I just kind of touched on those, but if you want to break those down, that would be awesome.
Sure, absolutely. This is the best time, absolutely, the holidays, because you are, what I would use is the time to also really one-on-one getting to talk to your friends, whether they're Facebook and you don't do it throughout the year, to be able to make that connection. Okay, this is the time to show them, you maybe have been not sharing this with them, but just making that connection again is going to be so, so important. Talking about it this time, if you are in front of people and you're around them and you make your shake, or maybe make a dessert or something to have that, a lot of you guys, Lycelians, have come up with wonderful desserts with the shake mix, something to be able to just go and talk, just to be able to share it. That's what we're doing, is sharing that. They're going to, see the results of what you have had, how, just the good positiveness and just sharing that time. But definitely do not talk about the other stuff, because then it's always going to be about that. If you haven't seen people in a long time, just very briefly how you've, how it's changed your life, that's what I would do, and definitely share it. And if, they're open to wanting to know more, would be great, but don't go into and talking a lot about it. We have, 2 ears for a reason and one mouth. That's so we listen and let them talk, and we do less talking, okay? That's so, so important. A lot of times, even when you meet somebody, it's like, ah, da, 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 and you did, it was all about that. But if you could really, people want to see that you're not going to throw all that at you. I was telling Alyse earlier, I was on the airport, at the airport, and then on an airplane with 2 guys, and kind of funny thing, I missed my flight, and they were the same ones, and we sat back on the same flight. And what was so important that you guys could understand is, if you're meeting new people, it's not about you. It's not all about what you do. Be engaged in them. So when you're around people, be engaged in them, that you care enough about them. And that's important, is I wanted to know about them. And then, because I was the one who made the first contact, the first conversation, they liked me and asked me for a business card, okay? But I wasn't all about me. They asked me a few little things, and I threw a little bit at them, and then I went right back into what did they do. I wanted them to know that I was more interested in them than it was about me. They were already interested in enough. So if we can learn to find out how they're doing, how their family is, and that's going to be so important. But just, every so often, as you're in your conversation, if they were to happen to ask, that's why you let them talk, because then they might come back and ask you, and that's exactly when it ends up happening. So definitely don't do all the talking, because it's all, then it becomes me, and not about them, and they don't think that you care about them. So let's try and they will, if they've seen you on Facebook or they've seen and heard about it. If you let them do the talking, they'll come to you and they will ask you. And as far as the tax incentives, guys, this is really, honestly, from being self-employed for 19 years, it is the best time. A lot of you and a lot of people that don't and not have been self-employed don't know this, but starting up a business, which this is what this is, you can write it off on the next taxes. So if somebody, why wait till January? Because now they're going to have to wait to 2014 to write it off on their taxes. So right now it would be the best. Or, oh, I'm buying Christmas presents. Well, this is the best gift you can buy yourself. Yes, you can have Christmas presents, but if you get in right now, then I can get you back your money, so that you won't have to worry about it being Christmas. So you got to look at it this way: it's not just signing somebody up at a $4.99 or $9.99 or whatever, and just thinking that you got to let them know that if they invest now, that we're here now to at least the perfect time for them to share it, and let people know that, hey, I'm getting, I'm starting now through the holidays. So really take that tax advantage now, so that they can. And there's a lot more in depth that you can get by even being starting off now. Getting your products situated now. Hey, what better way to be able to save on your taxes for next year? So, let them know now's the time. And if you need that other third party, we say, is get somebody else on because what you don't want to be doing is the talking, because of this. They know you as you. So if you've never owned a business and you're trying to tell your
Wait, we can't hear you.
So
Oh,
what
wait.
you need to do is have somebody.
Okay.
Did you hear me?
We just missed
Okay.
like 2 seconds of what you just said. If you can just go back.
Yes. So really, it's so important that you don't do this, because you're not an expert into this. So if you've never owned a business or you're not an entrepreneur, but you're wanting that you just recently started, by you going to your friends and telling them this, they're going to look at you like, oh yeah, like you've known. So it's actually another point to coming back to using a third-party story, still getting somebody else on there, like, which we've all are available, to be able to share that with you. Because a lot of times when it comes to this whole thing, and this will kind of go into where we were talking about not talking all yourself, is because what do you do for a living? A lot of people know you've never owned your own business. Some of them know that you've maybe never done fitness or never done anything, and then you're trying to sell on them. We don't want to sell anything. We want them to know that you're changing for yourself, and if they want the same thing, then that's why somebody else should be able to tell them about this and why it's good. When I get somebody on a third party, it's nothing even to go off about the business. It's going to be about me so that they know who I am, and that's why it's so important for them to be related. So, we definitely do not want to be trying to think that we know it all, because they know you. And that's what we've been trying to tell everybody. That's why, if you can understand it from that perspective, is your friends and family know who you are, and we want to be the third party so that they don't, shut you down or think anything differently. So that kind of all put through everything together. And right now, too, guys, if you have a customer or people are thinking, well, I'm just going to wait till January, well, this would be a perfect time to be telling them this. Why don't you go ahead and order your product now so that you have it for January 1st? If some of them are thinking differently, some of them are thinking, oh, I'm just going to wait. Well, if they have their mindset that they want to eat all they want to, I don't know why, but if they felt like they wanted to eat all they wanted to, at least they then still place your order and we'll go ahead and have it started. That's another way. If somebody was to tell you no, then we can go ahead and tell them, go ahead and place it now and be ready, so that you're not waiting till January 1st to place your order, and now you're waiting until, January 10th to start on your challenge. So if we can encourage them to do that, that would be great for you guys to let them know that as well. Okay? So Alyse, all to you, sweetie.
Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you, Carmen, so much. That was awesome. And hopefully you guys really are taking something from this. I'm going to do a quick roll call because I know leaders like to know who is on these webinars. And again, I will get the recording out as quickly as possible. So if you hear or don't hear someone's name on here, be sure to make sure that they listen to the recording. But we have Sweetie Angie Nitzel, we have Barb and Jason Stubbs, Bernice Lopez, Carla Detremont. Does that sound good? We have Charnel and Cheryl. We have Christine Brown, Christy Malum, Debbie Sanford, Debbie Williams, Ginger Urban, Glennis Young, Jeannie Full, Jim and Linda Dennison, Julie Colvard, Karen Cochran, Karen Sears, Casey Pegram, Kay Lancaster, Maggie Bottom, Marcy Nickerson. I'm sure that's Maggie and Michael there. Marilyn Harris. Oh, Michael Bottom's logged in separately. Michelle Allen Scott, Michelle Barefoot, Rachel Priestley, Sandy Babalis. Hopefully I didn't totally mutilate your last name. Sorry, Sandy. Sean Welch, Tab Butler, Temry Jackson, Tim and Rhonda Dean, Torrance Moses, and Yvette Detremont, and Zoe Hanson. So that is the roll call for tonight. Again, appreciate you guys logging in. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Make this an amazing month. Go out there and change a lot of people's lives. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.